industry. There was one point where I said, okay, now I have done a lot of songs. I've mixed a lot of songs. I've worked a lot of songs, worked on a lot of songs, and it has been a great this thing. Now I wanted to go a step further, and uh, and I said that I want to design the entire soundtrack of the film. I want to do the sound design. For me, sound design is not just effects tracking. For me, sound design is the tone of the dialogues, the way they're going to deliver the dialogues, the tonal quality of the voice, and then from there, when it breaks into a song, I want these things to blend. The musical quality, the way you treat the music,
score?
the way
Even
the
the score?
film score, the way you treat the film score, the way you treat the songs, the way you treat the dialogues, the way you treat the effects, and I want to merge them. They should not stand out as departments.
Correct, because I remember in some films when we see a song coming in, audio-wise, you suddenly feel there is a change in the tone.
Yeah.
There's a change in the levels, the volume, whatever. As a common man that sees or watches a movie,
Yes.
you feel that difference. So, as a sound designer, this is your job.
As a sound designer, what I have tried to do is I have tried to, of course, a lot depends on the director and on the kind of film. So even if it's breaking into a song and dance ritual, uh, I would want that transition to be smooth. One example of this is in Parinita, for example, where Saif speaks a dialogue. There's a song called Piyu Bole Piya Bole. Saif speaks, and then slowly they get into a song. Vidya speaks, and then slowly they break into a song. So in this whole process, Vinod and Pradeep asked Sonu to. Sonu is a very good mimic, Sonu Nigam. So they asked Sonu to mimic Saif, and he did it. He did it. He understood the thing. He sat down for some time. We sat in the studio till he got mentally prepared, and then he came to sing the song. So the intense moment, the intense romance, the intensity of the whole thing, his dialogue, and between the dialogue, the song, and again from song to dialogue. So these transitions were very, very much there. So I could not have like a dialogue treated in one way and the singer's voice treated in another way. For me, that is a big challenge, and for me, that merging should happen. It helped with that kind of a script, and also Pradeep Sarkar, the director, kind of gave me that space to do that work. And I really have respect for all these people who make it possible. So what happens is the kind of EQs, the kind of tone setting that you would want. For me, when I'm mixing a film, the dialogue I treat as the voice in a song. All the other elements, all the other arrangements are the effects and the background score and the incidental effects, the Foleys. They all work around the dialogue. So my music recording background has really contributed in my whole design, and I've seen people who have an intense understanding of music do a much better job, not only in sound but even on the film by and large. If you see some of the directors who are very successful, you'll see that their association with music is very close.
Your role in this whole sound design process starts at what stage?
My role starts at the scripting stage, because that's when they sit and decide where they're going to shoot, the locations, the kind of thing. Now, whether it is going to be a sync sound or whether it's going to be a dubbed film. So that decision also has to be taken. Many small projects cannot afford to do sync sound because they have this thing. But now I'm hoping that a lot more sync sound will happen, because slowly the format of shooting is now becoming digital, and very good resolutions in digital. So I think that is going to be the future. So anyway, sync sound is something which I would prefer. I have my own sync sound equipment, though I don't go out on location. I have my partner Nihar who goes out for location recording. So together we have this equipment that we...
So it's not that you're just working as a consultant, but you're also on the field. I mean, in terms of your team, your team also is involved.
Yes.
It's not that somebody else is doing it and you're just working like consultant, to...
Yes.
Because you are involved in every stage
No,
of...
I'm very, very involved. My main involvement, like I was telling you, location sound recordist usually turns out to be the sound designer of the whole film. I wanted to break that thing and say that no, even a person with a different background can also be the sound designer of the entire film. So I don't go out on location. I would love to nowadays if I had to. This thing maybe I
Especially
would have.
a place in Three Idiots where they were moving around.
Yes.
And you were also very much
Yes.
the part of the film.
Yes. And the thing is, if I go location recording, then I'll end up spending most of my time over there. I will not be able to, my love for music is still there. My love for this thing is very intense. So I do a lot of work in advertising. I do a lot of work in music albums, album mixes, and all that.
You must be very busy then. I mean, all the time doing something or the other.
Boss, you must be very busy, very rich not to be busy in Bombay. If you say that you're not busy in Bombay, you must be really rich to sustain. So we have to keep busy in order to keep our heads above the water. Yeah. So now what happens is, in the whole process, when the location sound is recorded, the OK takes are then compiled by the editor, and he lays tracks. I mean, he cuts the tracks, because there are, on location now we have the option of recording more than 6-8 tracks, at least 8 tracks. We have that option. So usually, if you have like multiple characters wired up, you have a ambience mic recording the ambience, and it could be a stereo ambience. It could be, it depends on how your location sound recordist gives you the thing. But this is pre-planned. We sit and kind of work out, okay, what are the tracks that you're going to give. Now it has become a set pattern. Now I know that, what he's going to give. He knows what I'm going to do with it. So the sound is then given to the editor, who, on his Avids or FCP, he cuts the OK shots and lays their corresponding sounds. And I get the OMF files into my system. And meanwhile, what is happening is, like, after that is done, then we are doing the patch up ADR or the dubbing. Places where you need to replace certain dialogues because of either some disturbance on location or a change in script. So, there are certain words probably you cannot use because the censor has an objection to that. So you have to dub those. There are certain disturbances on location which need to be, because of which you need to dub those sections.
But then that dubbing session should also match.
And when you're dubbing that, I prefer to use the location microphones while dubbing also. Because there is a certain, this thing, you need to maintain that tone, correct, that tonal quality. But I do, even if I don't have the privilege of using those, but I have very successfully matched studio recorded dialogues with location sound, and you cannot make out. And so then what we do is, the dialogue tracks are readied. Simultaneously, Foley happens. So footsteps and incidental sounds like, tea, chai pi raha hai, keeping the cup down, yeah, teacups down, and stirring, and those kind of kitchen sounds and footsteps, and all those kind of incidental sounds have to be recorded. Even though most of it is done on location, when you're doing sync sound, you have to recreate that, because when you're selling your rights to, say, some foreign company, now if you're selling your thing to a German television, now they'll just dub the dialogues, but you need those separate tracks of effects and separate tracks of music.
You have to do that also, the recording of Foley, and
you have to record the Foley.
So you have to be present everywhere.
Ideally, but now what has happened is, because I have divided my work amongst a set of people that you regularly work with. I would like to call them a team. I know that if I have briefed this guy, this is what I want. I definitely go and sit with him and we say that this is particularly what we are looking at. But they do it to my satisfaction. And so after the Foley is recorded, I bring them. And what also happens is, a lot of Foleys, we work on them. The thickness, the grunginess, or how crisp it is, those kind of things. I have to add other effects in order to make those particular sounds as well. Then there is the non-sync effects tracking, which happens in my studio. Once the reels are made by the editor, then they are given to me. Then we are sitting and we are doing the ambient sound effects, like traffics and ambience, birds, bees, falana, what have you, seas, seashore, and those kind of tracks you're laying. So those later are merged with the Foley tracks. I bring the Foley tracks into my system. I bring the dialogue tracks into my system. I am usually there for the song recordings as well. So I bring my song tracks as well. I do the song mixes. I do the background score mixes and edits, and create an entire soundscape of the entire film.
All this in 20 days? More or less?
Well, 20 days is something which you, like after you have compiled all this, to make sure that I don't land up having this 20-day squash. What I do is I start work much in advance. So what I do is I tell the editor to mere ko rough cut de de, and I will start working on it. So I don't get rushed up. So I start doing my bit of thing whenever it's possible. That he gives me the rough cut and I start working on it. So I don't, doing some kind of time management.
Doesn't this make, your style of functioning, the Bishwadeep sound kind of a thing, does it give that feel to a film then? Because, say, Three Idiots or Devdas or whichever other films that you've worked on.
See, that is something...
does it then make it a standard? Like we know that this is an A.R. Rahman sound. Does this, or do you treat every film differently?
See,
in terms of the approach.
Yeah, I don't know how that is. I have my little quirks. I have my little nuances. I have my little, certain likings for certain things. But like, if you ask me today, if I have to mix Parinita, I would not probably mix it like that. It would have been much more contemporary in terms of sound, in terms of treatment, in terms of this thing. It would have been different today because you and I are a different person today. 10 years ago, we were a different person. So the way we worked 10, 15 years ago, the way we work now, the way we work today are very different and very related to all the changes that affect us directly, indirectly, the way we perceive.
Plus the technology changes.
And the change in technology. What I used to hear 20 years ago on those kind of speakers are different from what I hear today. So my perception has also changed. So I would not say, yes, I have a style of working in the sense that I have a certain, probably a certain sound in mind when I'm doing this thing. But it would not be exclusive like, say, an A.R. Rahman or this thing, because they are creating that music. So for him, it is much more direct. For me, I have to work with various composers' sounds. I have to work with various directors. So even though, so you are trying to arrive at a certain, I don't know, maybe if an observer notices, probably he might notice certain
but it's definitely
things.
Not a template where you just,
It's not a template. Yeah. It cannot be. Everything is different. Every situation is different. So you cannot just add a formula to an off-the-shelf kind of treatment for this particular thing. It never happens. I wish it could, because it would save me some time. But then it doesn't. It just doesn't. You need to sit and work on it. You need to create a sound which is more specific to the rest of the design of the film.
So it is indeed a tough job. It's not just...
It is a tough job, yes. But looking back...
At least highly involved.
Yes, it does. And you have... And because we love our jobs, it doesn't feel like a job. We are so into it. Somebody outside says, you guys are working for 15, 16 hours. Boss, we are actually having fun. And I wish we could get a little more paid for this, but we are having fun. And it's great. There were, even when you're sitting and when you're saying that this is the voice casting of a singer vis-a-vis the actor is also discussed with us. So, that also happens, that we would prefer this particular voice for this actor, and that this particular voice is going to go very well with this thing. So this is also discussed as part of the design for some directors who really care and go to that extent.